What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the Nokia G400 5G. Now, this device is one of the latest affordable options from Nokia, and you can get it both factory unlocked and also at Metro by T-Mobile and regular T-Mobile. Now, the full MSRP for this device is $239, and then at least for now at Metro, you can get this phone for just $49.99. So this phone is definitely not meant to compete against $1,000 smartphones, for example, but if you're looking to get a decent device without spending too much, then the Nokia G400 5G might be an option worth considering. Now, before I show you a variety of different things about this device, let's see what all comes included here in the box. So here's the box. You can see a picture of the phone up front there. Now, the box itself is actually a bit larger than many of the other phone boxes that I've gotten recently. And one of the reasons for that is because we actually do get a USB wall adapter included. But you can see we also have a SIM card removal tool kind of hidden in this pouch right here. There is a quick start guide. We have a double-sided USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. And then again, we do indeed have that USB wall adapter. Now, to make things even better, the wall adapter is USB-C, and it does support 20-watt fast charging. Now, the actual phone itself does max out at 20-watt fast charging as well, so it's really cool to see that we do have a charger included that can recharge this device at its maximum pace. Now, with the Nokia G400 5G, we have a very large 6.58-inch display, and it does feature Corning Gorilla Glass 3. Now, the display itself is LCD, but what actually is really impressive about this is that it does feature a 120 Hz display. So that's a really fast refresh rate, and typically something that you associate with phones that are a lot more expensive than this one. Now, if you do end up getting this device, keep in mind that by default, the display is set to just 60 Hz, so you do need to go to the settings to switch it over to 120 Hz, but overall, I'm really impressed that it has that feature, and it does indeed work really well here. Things run really smoothly on the display, and I can't say this display is necessarily the best looking beyond that. It doesn't quite have that great of viewing angles, but the fact that we do have that faster premium refresh rate really was a nice surprise to see here. Now, in addition to that, the display itself is 1080p, so things are decently crisp and clear. We have a PPI of 401, a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor, and we have an 81.7% screen-to-body ratio. So a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel there, and then we do have a water drop notch up top. Now, in that notch is a 16 megapixel front-facing camera, and stay tuned for my full review video of this device, as I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from all the various cameras on it. Now, internally, with the Nokia G400 5G, we do have 64 gigabytes of storage, and in addition to that, this phone does support microSD card expansion. So 64 gigs is pretty decent overall, especially for a lower-end phone like this one. You are going to get a decent amount of free space as well. You can see here that the actual system software itself only takes up 14 gigabytes of that 64 gigs. So it is good that we have the option for a microSD card, but I feel like most people probably won't get to that point where they really need one. But again, it's still good that we have that option. Now, unfortunately, with this device, there is no wireless charging, but in general, that is to be expected, especially for lower-end devices. But we do have a fingerprint sensor mounted on the power button. So let's now give that a try. So very fast and responsive. Let's try that one more time. There we go. So very consistent there. And I do like the convenience of having it right on the power button itself. And in addition to that, this phone does support Face Unlock, so I do appreciate that we have multiple methods for accessing the phone. Now, on the back of the device, we do have a triple camera setup. So there's a 48 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that can capture images at up to 115 degrees, and we have a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera to assist with portrait mode. And this phone does have portrait mode for both the rear and front facing cameras. Now, here's how things look on the camera app on this device. This is the main camera right now. Then from here, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle camera, and with that, we can fit a lot more content into the frame. It's certainly a really nice feature to have, and something that I do tend to actually use quite a bit on any device that does have it, as it is nice just to kind of change up your photos from the standard mode. And of course, if there's a large building, or maybe just a lot of scenery that you want to fit into one photo, then having the ultra-wide camera does make it possible to fit more in the actual image itself. But in addition to that, we can move over to portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. We can also flip around to the front-facing camera to do the same thing. So there's me right there. And then if you want to as well, you can take standard selfies too. So since I just got this phone, I'm definitely gonna have to test out the cameras quite a bit more to get a full idea of how good they are. But so far, it does seem like this phone is definitely capable of taking images that are at least worth keeping, and photos and videos that you could definitely put on social media with no problem at all. It's not like the images that this phone takes are so bad that they're unusable. Now, of course, compared to a much more premium option, yeah, you're not going to be getting nearly the photo and video quality, but for what it is, I feel like this phone definitely offers quite a bit related to the cameras. Now, video recording with this device does max out at 1080p with both the front and rear cameras, so keep that in mind. There is no 4K video recording, but again, for a lower end phone, that is pretty much to be expected. Now, with this device, we're getting 4GB of RAM paired up with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 480 Plus 5G processor. So 4 gigs of RAM is pretty decent for a lower end phone. And then with that 480 plus 5G processor, of course, hence the name, we are indeed getting 5G connectivity, but also expect to get kind of mid-range, a bit lower end performance overall. Now, I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5 with this device, and I'll show you the scores from that test right now. But essentially, I got a single core score of 547 and a multi-core score of 1669. So what I recommend doing is run this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of how the Nokia G400 5G measures up against your current device. Because who knows, this phone might be slower than the phone that you currently have. Now at this point in 2022, I definitely think that you can get by without 5G, but at the same time, if you're going to go through all the time and effort of buying a brand new smartphone, I feel like you may as well go for a device that does support your carrier's latest and greatest network. So thankfully, with this device, we do have that compatibility there. Now with the Nokia G400 5G, we have a very large 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery. So definitely expect to get really good battery life, definitely a full day if not two of usage. And in addition to that, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, this phone does support 20 watt fast charging, so not only do we have a large battery with this phone, but you will be able to recharge it pretty quickly. And that's especially important considering the large battery size that we have here, because if you try to recharge a 5,000 milliamp hour battery with a very slow charger, it's going to take a long time to see any sort of progress when it comes to recharging the phone. Now, as far as software goes, we are getting Android 12 here and pretty much a stock experience as well. So if you're not interested in any sort of custom skin with your Android device, then this phone might definitely be a decent option worth considering. Another nice bonus feature too with the Nokia G400 5G is that we do have NFC built into the device. So if you do like to make mobile contactless payments using tap and pay, then you can certainly do that here with this phone. But now that we've gone over a lot of the major specifications and features of the Nokia G400 5G, let's now take a closer look at the actual hardware itself. Now this phone is made completely of plastic, besides the display of course, which is made of glass. And while this phone isn't a premium device by any means, it doesn't feel cheap on the other hand. So I would definitely expect long term that this phone will hold up pretty well. However, I do recommend pairing it up with some sort of case, as plastic does tend to scratch pretty easily as time goes on. One downside though with the materials of this device, and you can probably tell already, is that the reflective back of this phone really picks up a lot of fingerprints. You can see how many fingerprints are here. It really doesn't look that good, so I do wish this phone had some sort of matte finish instead. I'm not sure why companies continue to put glossy backs on their devices, as I feel like it just doesn't work very well in reality. Now on the left side of the device, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have volume up, volume down, and also the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the device, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. And then on the back of the phone, we have that triple camera setup with the flash, and then the Nokia logo, and that's pretty much it. So in general, I wouldn't say that this phone is anything overly interesting, but at the same time, it is a really solid, affordable option from Nokia, and especially if you can get this phone from a carrier, such as Metro for example, where they're offering it for a fraction of the MSRP, I definitely think it is a worthy option worth considering. Now as a reminder, this video is my first impressions video, so I definitely need to spend quite a bit more time with this phone to really give you my full thoughts on it, but so far things do seem pretty good here. But most importantly, I'm curious to know what you think about the Nokia G400 5G. Do you think this phone is worth getting, or maybe you own one already and you just wanted to watch this video to learn more about it? Definitely let me know in the comment section below. But one thing I know for sure is that in this budget segment, there is a lot of competition from a lot of different brands. I know that Nokia hasn't quite had that large of an influence, at least in the prepaid space in the US. And one of the reasons for that is because Samsung, Motorola, TCL, and even OnePlus have a lot of really great lower end budget devices, so it is a pretty crowded space overall. But having that 120 Hz refresh rate is really impressive there. That's one thing that really does make this phone stand out. There also aren't really that many lower end Android devices nowadays that do have Qualcomm processors, so that's worth thinking about too. So there certainly are a variety of things about this device that do make it unique. But again, let me know what you think in the comment section below. But this is Kevin here. This is the Nokia G400 5G, and I will see you in the next video.